What does it actually mean to be a genuinely good person? It's a question people have been asking forever. Well, today, we're going to look at a pretty fascinating answer from about 350 years ago, from a Puritan writer named Thomas Watson. And what's so cool is he didn't just write a list of rules. No, he tried to paint a complete picture of what he called godliness. So let's step into his 17th century gallery and see what this portrait is all about.
So to really get what Watson is trying to do here, you have to understand his perspective. For him, this wasn't some casual self-help guide. I mean, you can see it in this quote. He saw this as the most critical mission in a person's life, getting ready for eternity. This was a matter of ultimate destiny, and he took it very, very seriously.
And that really gets us to the heart of it, doesn't it? What did this preparation actually look like for a Puritan living back then? We're going to unpack Watson's blueprint, piece by piece, and try to understand his vision of a life well lived. What defined it? And maybe more importantly, what did he see as its biggest threat?
What's so compelling about Watson's whole approach is this powerful metaphor he uses. He's painting a picture. See, for him, godliness wasn't just one single action, but a whole portrait. It has a foundation, it has core features, and it has all these detailed expressions that have to come together to create this coherent, beautiful image of a person's soul.
Okay, so let's start with his main definition. For Watson, godliness isn't something you just achieve on your own. It's the workmanship of God in you. It's a fundamental change, a total transformation from what he calls a carnal state, a life focused on worldly stuff and self-interest, to a spiritual one, a life centered on God. And to make this even clearer, he lays out three key ideas. First, he says godliness is real. It's not just a nice thought or some fleeting feeling. Second, it's intrinsic. It has to be genuine, something deep down in your heart, not just a performance for everybody else. And third, it's supernatural. It's not something we can just cook up ourselves. It's a gift. And this right here brings us to the villain of Watson's story, hypocrisy. He had so much to say about people who just pretended to be godly. He saw it as this profound betrayal, a double iniquity, because it doesn't just fool other people, but in his view, it's basically mocking the very idea of God. And you can really see the difference here, right? The godly person is focused on the heart, on real substance, on sincerely serving God. But the pretender, it's all about the show. It's like a painted-on faith, a performance that's really just serving their own interests, even if they're using all the right religious words. For Watson, this was just the ultimate spiritual poison. So, if that's the outline, where does the portrait even begin? Well, Watson argues that before you can even start painting the features, the canvas itself has to be primed with the right foundation. Let's take a look at what that means. And this is a really crucial point he makes. Godliness isn't something you can just wake up one morning and decide to start doing. It has prerequisites. You can't just build this beautiful house on shifting sand. You need something solid, something unshakable to build on. And for Watson, that foundation rests on two pillars. First is forgiveness. And he really stresses that this is an act of free grace from God. It is not something you can earn. The second is knowledge. But he's not talking about memorizing facts for a test. He means a deep, personal, life-changing understanding of God. And I love this quote because it just ties those two ideas together so perfectly. Watson believed that real humility, that honest recognition of your own flaws, is what lets a person truly appreciate the gift of forgiveness. It's not just a get-out-of-jail-free card. It's this profound experience that just melts your heart with love and gratitude. Okay, so the canvas is primed, we've got grace, we've got knowledge. Now Watson starts sketching the core features of the portrait, the internal qualities that really define a person's heart and soul. And he uses two essential colors to paint this inner life, faith and love. Now for him, these aren't just vague feelings. They're the active, dynamic forces inside a person that shape everything else. They will give the portrait all its vibrancy and its depth. And just look at how he describes them. Faith is the vital artery, the engine that powers everything else, the mother of hope. And then love, on the other hand, is what sweetens every duty. It's the flavor, the quality that turns serving God from a chore into a total joy. They're like these two powerful poles of the Christian life. This is such a brilliant metaphor for how these things work together. Faith has to come first. That's the belief in the promise. And that belief then becomes the fuel, the oil, that lets the lamp of hope burn brightly. Without faith, hope just starves. So we have the foundation and we have the inner life. But Watson is super clear on this next point. A portrait that's just hidden away in a dark room is meaningless. This inner reality has to be expressed in the outer world. It has to be seen to be real.
Right, the portrait just isn't finished with the detailed brushstrokes of daily life. This is where the internal becomes external, where that faith and love get translated into actual, tangible actions. So, what do those actions look like? Watson outlines 4 big ones. First, resembling God, which means striving for holiness. Second, worshiping carefully by following the Bible's pattern. Third, and this is a huge one for him, serving God above the pressures and opinions of other people. And finally, loving and treasuring Scripture as the ultimate guide. Now, that word holiness can sound a little intense, right? But for Watson, it was pretty simple. It meant 2 things: an internal part, a genuine hatred of sin, and an external part, actively trying to line up your life with God's will. It's all about reflecting the character of God, or what he called godlikeness.
And this quote, which Watson pulls from the Apostle Paul, just hammers home that third point about service. A godly person's ultimate loyalty is to God. If there's a conflict between pleasing people and obeying God, the choice, for Watson, is crystal clear.
Which brings us right back to his powerful warning against hypocrisy. Watson ends with this really stark, memorable line. You can't have a divided heart, one for God when people are watching and another for yourself in private. This kind of double-mindedness, he argues, is just completely incompatible with a genuine spiritual life.
And so, there you have it, the finished portrait. It's a person built on the foundation of God's grace and personal knowledge. Their inner life is animated by these vibrant colors of faith and love, and their outer life is a clear expression of holiness, service, and devotion to God.
And that leaves us with this final big question. Looking at this picture, painted with these 17th century Puritan ideals, the intense focus on sincerity over show, on inner conviction driving outer action, on love making duties sweet, what parts of this ancient portrait still speak to us today, and what parts maybe feel like relics from a world that's long gone? It's definitely a question worth thinking about.